Morning. Morning.
Demencia!
Welcome back to the Westpoint expansion. Let's get back straight into it. It was 6 a.m. so the cooking show was still on. Whilst I still had Christine watching how to make chicken soup or whatever, I was looking at the crafting recipes that use scrapped metal, courtesy of the Craft Helper mod, thanks to the developer for this one. Looking over the recipes, I was reminded of the Tactical Backpacks mod that I had installed. It provided a crafting recipe to a spacious backpack that I would surely need. It would be on the list of items that I needed to scavenge. After moving the TV to the kitchen for reasons that I cannot remember, I set up for the city, Westpoint. Equipped with a wooden spear with a spoon attached to the end, I call it the Speen. Also with a hammer and a screwdriver in my belt, I was ready to conquer Knox County. I'd walk crouched through the foggy trail at 2x speed. Didn't find much except a car wreck. I go to mark it on my map later only to find out that I forgot to bring a writing utensil. Oh well, back to being a sneaky beaky through the foggy woggies. Eventually, I came across a barn with a shed and a few Zeds. Nothing my spine and foot couldn't handle. They had some goods. A lollipop and a black digital watch. Also, a pair of scissors which was put to good use to rip up their clothes. It would make for a good tailoring material for my backpack I mentioned earlier. The barn only had furniture. The shed, on the other hand, had a screwdriver and tire. I took the screwdriver and left. I saw a house and what looked to be another shed next to it, so I went for it. That's until I spotted a zombie with a backpack. It was a school bag. Not the best of bags, but better than nothing on my back. I took his kicks cause they're flyer than mine, and I went over to kill his buddy to rip up his shoes. I checked the shed only to find nothing worthwhile. When they came out, there was a small horde expertly hiding behind a tree. Guess that the clap of my ass cheeks alerted them. So I took my stomach growling, my panicking, my depressed, anxious, in pain looking ass over to the nearby fence to cheese them. Gave them a good old pokey with my speen. Don't know how the logic works. Maybe I scooped out their brains through their eyeballs or something? Gross thought. Anyways, the house behind me had an undead party going inside with cake, party hats, and the whole shebang. I tried to open the window before they break it to avoid alerting the guards. Too late. One crawled out whilst the other wanted to practice his moonwalking.
Oh shit, Mikey Jackson!
Gave them all a good stomping. Out of that horde, I ripped up their shoes and made a bag out of it. Poggers. I took their party snacks and jewelry before I cleaned out the broken glass and hopped inside. Being the party pooper I am, I took their kitchenware, killed the last of the party goers, and took everything else in the house. While I was cleaning up the dirty rags, I noticed that the water shut off. This was incredibly unlucky for day 2. Thankfully, my base is next to a lake, so I wasn't too fussed about it. I went over to push my luck with the neighbor's house. I found the owner of the house dead next to a bottle of bleach. The undead neighbor saw me through the window and broke through. He wanted to greet me, in which I replied with a foot through his head. I loot the house and used the kitchen to make some good-ass pasta. And watch some life and living. Don't know why, but I continued to loot despite my bad noodles. Perhaps it was the depression, the bloodthirst, or it was just some really good pasta in my stomach. Who knows? But after I looted the third house, I just walked out into the open field to kill some zombies. After that, I went into a fourth house, looted it, changed my bandages, read some magazines that I found earlier, covered the windows and doors with sheets, then used an exploit in the game to sleep, in which I stayed outside until my panic was gone, clicked on the sleeping spot, and let my character walk over. I timed pressing E perfectly, so the door closed right behind me. I wake up at 6 a.m. so that I can watch the cooking show, only to realize the house doesn't have a TV. Instead, I go outside and find a small horde, so I give them some pokies and stompies. I run through the rain to the previous house to catch the show, and to my surprise, it was still on. After learning to make a salad, I go over to investigate the church next door and clear the cemetery. There was a storage truck and a military gasoline truck parked out front. Lucky me. The key was still inside the truck, but no gas. Some tools in the trunk too. The small horde out front scared me, so I decided to skip looking through the gas truck. Nothing much inside the church except some crayons and a mug. Broke into the fifth house. Aside from the usual stuff, I did find a fanny pack. A great place to store my small tools in. I also remembered that I have crayons, so I marked off the locations I've been to on my map. Killed a park ranger and his buddy whilst going to the sixth house. I also alerted another small horde. My weapon broke, so I ran away to repair it during the fight, and finish the rest off. As I break into the house, the alarm goes off. I go to escape through the trees only to find the goddamn neighbors on the other side. I lose them by going through the previous house only to find another small group waiting for me outside. I lose that group through the church. I kill some stragglers and decide to go to a house on the map that I didn't mark off. RNG Jesus decided that I had enough looting for today, but I decided just to be quick about it and take what little that was there. But after a cursory look outside, there were no zombies coming, so I decided to watch some life and living. Someone outside wanted in, so I let him, before bashing her brains in with my foot. Another at the door too, so I gave her a welcoming poke. A third stood outside the window, so I decided to open up and give him another good old poke. A fourth saw the open window and decided to climb through. He had some goodies after I killed him, so that was welcomed at least. I made my way back home, killing any in my way, power crouching through the rain at 2 times speed. Home sweet home. First thing I did was turn on the TV and watch some Life and Living, whilst ripping up some clothes. By the time I was done, it was sunset. Too late to go on another scavenging run, so I decided to clean up. I find out that the back gate is locked, but there's also a small dock with a boat on the river. Might be useful. I spent the rest of the night / early morning organizing loot that I got in my pack, tossing the extra clothes outside in the rain in hopes that I would wash off the rot and blood, placing down the barbecue grill, and going to sleep. My alarm goes off and wakes me up at 6 a.m. again, so I watch some lady with her nudes. Anyways, I store another TV in the cabinet for no particular reason. I cook some chicken and beef, change my dirty bandage, and try to organize the chaos that is my home. With the plumbing gun, I took any containers capable of holding liquid to the lake and filled them up. I still had power, so I could still sterilize them easily at a stove or microwave. After watching some woodcraft, I see my fence climbing is abysmal. Seeing how awful that was, I just decided to level up my tailoring by ripping up some soggy clothes.
Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast, too fast.
You know what I do want to do? You know what I want to do really fucking badly?
After watching some Life and Living, I decide to embrace the Bass Pro Bro shop in me. I catch more shoes than things I can actually eat. I give up at midnight and just slept outside to forget my failure. I wake up weirdly earlier than normal, so I just cooked the little fishy I caught last night while I clean more rags. I munch down on some fish and chips while watching the cooking show. It was the BLT episode. I also used some junk and rags that I just had laying around to make one of those tactical bags. Neat. They have loads of volume, so I take everything and pack it into there just to tidy up the floor a little. I take care of most of my moodles, do some last minute checks, and head out for another loot run. I went to check out on the little house with the spiffle van the other day. I saw that a few zombies had gathered just outside in the tree line. Nothing my spear couldn't handle. I took their clothes and ripped them up while I waited for the new episode of Woodcraft. I tipped the corpse $2 as I left, only to be greeted by another undead welcoming community. Nothing a good old / poke couldn't handle. And just like that, I was back to where I left off when I was looting the other day. And by the time I was there, my favorite show was broadcasting. I moved the TV into the bedroom and watched it with a naked corpse under the bed. I was already exhausted and fatigued, so after doing an audit of my inventory and repairing my spear, I shacked up in the church and had Jesus protect me while I was sleeping. After the morning ritual of caving in some skulls with my foot, it was time to return to the looting sim. The house I was just at yesterday had this really snazzy sports car. I poured what little gas I had and took that baby for a spin. With the car now, my exploration options were way more open. I wouldn't have to struggle crouch walking everywhere with my broken leg. So first things first, I drive deeper into Westpoint. I drive past the school and immediately noticed a police roadblock. It was right next to a sizable horde too. I thought it would be a good idea to look through the glove box and turn on the siren. Before driving deeper into Westpoint, I parked just outside of the house to go inside and watch some Life and Living because I'm just full of good ideas. After learning how to bake a pie, I raid the house of its goodies, including the car wreck out front. The neighbors came out to greet me as I fill up my car with gas. I kill them and decide to loot the house across the street. As I drive away, I decide to loot the school, However, the horde was dispersed because the siren turned off. Using the stuff I got from the previous houses and cars I looted, I made a Molotov and started gathering the horde into one largely packed group. The horde was mostly distracted with the siren, however, quite a few were still hungry for me, so I had to kill a few stragglers. Then I had to wait a bit before circling around to a different side of the school. I placed on a TV I stole from my house earlier to see if I could catch an episode of Life and Livin', but it was too late. But it was not too late for the quest of knowledge. I loot the classrooms, I loot the hallways, and I clear out the undead students and faculty. I found a bunch of good stuff too. Books, magazines, maps, school bags, bottles, candy, even a water cooler. I was a kid in a candy store. But for knowledge, the library was a treasure trove. With enough stuff, I could stay home and read up until my wounds were healed. An easy 2-for-1. I took what I could carry and GTOF with my car. I was tired, hungry, depressed, anxious, and overburdened with stuff. As I was leaving, I noticed a house boarded up with windows. A survivor house. Pog. As I was passing the barn, I decided to pick up the fuel barrels, the crates, and the shelves, since I was passing by anyway. I had the car, so no harm in carrying more stuff. However, the engine did alert one guy. A bit of sketchy rope-a-doping, but I managed while hauling the furniture. I almost crashed into the wreck next to my base. So to prevent future damage to my car, I mark it on my map so I can see it coming on my mini-map. I park my new car in the driveway and start furnishing my base with the new stuff. I didn't sleep that night as I spent all of early morning just organizing all that new stuff I had. But first, I had to watch the new episode of The Cooking Show while reading a book to capitalize on those XP gains. Then I went to the neighbor's house to take their furniture. I was gonna need more places to put stuff anyways. I spent all morning organizing the bags, books, and other buff stuff, whatever. Then at midday I heard a siren going off. I go outside to investigate, but nothing came of it. But I did notice how bloody and dirty my clothes were. I went over to the lake to get a quick rinse. The rest of the day was uneventful as I was sorting through the stuff, reading books, and watching the Life and Livin' shows when I could. When it was getting to the early morning hours of the next day, I went over to my new car and slept inside. A bit safer, and surprisingly comfier than the chair on the porch. The next morning I catch my second to last show before grabbing a bite to eat and heading out for another loot run. I decided to drive down the trail a bit and found nothing aside from a burnt out truck in the tree line for some reason. With curiosity in mind, I decided to go deeper into Westpoint. I had a pretty fast car, so no reason to see what the rest of the town looked like. Unfortunately, I had to step away from my computer for a moment and forgot to resume my recording, but it wasn't completely lost. I had invaded most of the hordes as I made my way into a cul-de-sac of townhouses. I stopped there because I noticed some exercise equipment inside one of the buildings. I had the working treadmill mod, so while power was still on, that would be a good opportunity to grab one for my base. The storage closet had an axe and flashlight, but other than that, the loot was no good. I also took a washer and dryer. Don't ask why. I probably just forgot that I had one at home. Anyways, as I was heading back home, I decided to push my luck again as I was passing the school. I had the unquenchable thirst for knowledge, so I parked in the courtyard and headed to the second story. More books, magazines, and candy, but nothing too interesting. I left with my car and had an interesting bounce off with the fence. Looking back at the recording, I couldn't tell you why I didn't just go straight home. Maybe I was just so infatuated with the modded expansion, or I had a death wish. My eye caught the freezer just outside a gas station, so I decided to take it by luring the horde a long way away just to pick it up. After some sketchy luring away, I was then satisfied to go home, but not before taking a look at that police roadblock again. Okay, now it was a speedy way back home. For a second time, I almost hit the car wreck next to my base, so I get the idea to tow it back to base. It would serve as a way to train my mechanics, and it wouldn't be blocking the way home. I place my beloved treadmill and go through another sorting fiesta with my glorious haul. Finally, I wash up at the lake and go take my sleepies cause I'm eepy. Christine now has survived 1 week, and it was the last day to catch Life and Livin' before the TV broadcast would go off air. Forever. After the Rabbit Stew episode, I became a whore for organization. You name it, books, food, bags, clothes, anything and everything I saw was getting sorted. Finally, with that out of the way, it was time.
Wow, I am creative when it comes to destroying things.
Thanks for watching today's video. Sub, like, and comment the video. What did you like? What didn't you like? Let me know. I'll see you in the next video.
You're gonna do it. You did it. Yeah.